gathered students, and I wonder how your perspective of nature have shifted from where you started to study physics to right now that you are an expert in gravitational waves.
Interesting question. How has my perspective of nature changed between the time I was an undergraduate and the time in the day? I've never thought about it. Certainly, one thing that has happened is I have appreciated far more than I ever did before how rich nature is. Such a huge variety of different things go on in nature. And similarly with technology. Another thing I have learned over these years is that you can find something totally absorbing and really interesting in huge numbers of directions. I have found myself totally absorbed and thoroughly enjoying myself working summers on design of solid propellant rocket engines for Tharkol Chemical Corporation that built the engines for the space shuttle that blew the space shuttle up. Well, it was the O-rings that blew it up. But anyway, he is a quote rocket engineer. I've really enjoyed doing this quantum non-demolition stuff that I talked about today. I've really enjoyed being effectively an engineer, designing baffles, controlled scattered light. I think that I did nuclear physics experiments with the cyclotron when I was a student. That's where I first got a sense of how experiment is done. I've come to appreciate that the interface between theory and experiment is tremendously rich, and that a theorist who learns enough about experiment to be able to really talk to experimenters and understand the issues that they face and make major contributions, and it's a lot of fun doing that. I have a granddaughter who's now working on a PhD thesis on the Katrin experiment to measure the mass of the neutrino in Karlsruhe, Germany. When she decided to be a physicist, I told her you don't love it enough, you should find something else, or you should use physics as a stepping stone for something else. I told this to her year after year after year, because physics can be so enjoyable. There's no sense in doing it unless you know how to enjoy it, unless you find something that is fascinating. And you can find it in many different directions. But it's also so hard that if you want to be successful, you've got to work really hard. And you're only going to, in fact, be able to work really hard if you thoroughly enjoy it. And so, anyway, she now has a PhD thesis she's working on that she loves. And her whole outlook on physics has changed. So this is another thing I've learned over these years that I can give students advice on. Stick with it only over the long haul, only if you find that some aspect of it you really love. But you may give it time. She didn't find that until the tail end of her PhD. There are others who find it after they go out and get a job. But search for something you really love. Anyway, those are some answers to that kind of question.
Okay, related with gravitational wave astronomy, the current LIGO or the future gravitational wave detectors, LIGO, LISA, will detect a merger of white dwarfs or tidal disruption event of supernovae?
So LISA is in the right frequency band to detect mergers of white dwarfs. What it will detect is the gravitational waves from white dwarf binaries running around each other. The merger is not this cataclysmic merger that you have with neutron stars, because their centers of mass are far enough away that as they merge, they're still spiraling. They don't come crashing together. Only neutron stars and black holes come crashing together. But LISA will see huge numbers of white dwarf binaries and other close binary stars. Supernovae, we thought when we began this effort in the 1970s that supernovae would be strong sources of gravitational waves. The core of a star, after exhausting its nuclear fuel, would basically go in effect into free fall, come crashing down as though the various pieces were falling under gravity and there was no back pressure. Back pressure would be negligible. And it would bounce and there would be a very strong burst of gravitational waves. And we had some of the physics wrong. The issue was that we didn't understand the physics of the weak nuclear force. This is how neutrinos interact. And when the weak nuclear force came to be understood, and this was in the 70s when we were making the first predictions, there was something called neutral currents that came to be understood. The theory said that because of these interactions with neutrinos, that the opacity due to neutrinos would be far higher than we ever expected originally. And so the imploding star would ooze down because neutrinos would form and they would not escape freely as we thought before. And you follow a neutrino, it just escapes. It penetrates everything. No, it doesn't penetrate everything. It interacts with devices with big pressures. The core of the star oozes in, and you don't get a strong burst of gravitational waves. So it turns out now the models that the theorists make on supercomputers, they produce gravitational waves, but gravitational waves that are so weak that with present LIGO you could see them anywhere in our Milky Way galaxy, but not much beyond. You could likely have seen them in the Magellanic Cloud with supernova 1987A, but probably not in Andromeda. And so the issue is improving the sensitivity to the point where you can see Andromeda and have enough galaxies that you can get a supernova explosion once every 10 years instead of once every 50 years. And, but that's very important because we don't understand in any detail what makes a supernova explode. We know the core of the star collapses, forms a neutron star, there's huge energy release. But the mechanism by which that energy gets deposited in the outer layers of the star and blows off the outer layers of the star is not understood. Different simulations give different possibilities. The way that will ultimately get sorted out is very probably joint neutrino observations and gravitational wave observations, both of which tell you about what's going on in the core. So supernovae are a major target for LIGO, but at our current sensitivity, they are so rare that we need another supernova 1987A in our galaxy or the Magellanic Clouds, probably. It's conceivable we could see a bit farther if you have a very rapidly rotating stellar core that as it shrinks, it rotates so fast that it deforms into something like an American, the United States football. Tumbles end over end. Not a real football, but the kind of it becomes elongated. And that happens if the core is spinning fast enough. It can happen. In that case, we may be able to see far enough. That would not be a typical supernova. That would be very unusual. So anyway, we're searching, and we're hoping that signal is awfully weak. What is important or why is important? Why? Well, let me say that my career now is all in optics, in effect. I've changed careers for several reasons, but my current projects are all outreach projects. So that's an indication I believe in outreach. They are movies like Interstellar. I have a second movie in the works. Interstellar, I'm really impressed by the impact we had with Interstellar. We sold 100 million tickets. And I know there were enough young people that might never have gone into science without it, who got really excited and have told me they got excited and they got into science because of Interstellar, that I feel very satisfied with that. The issue of bringing really bright young people into science is tremendously important for the future. Also the issue of inspiring non-science about science is tremendously important. And again, we were, it turns out, very successful with Interstellar. Because and science is done for the whole human race. We're accumulating knowledge and insights that have a huge impact on the future of the human race. And so we do it for the benefit of everybody, and everybody should have an opportunity to share in what we find. But also, we need the general population's backing to do it, both for the costs of things like LIGO, but also, equally importantly, more importantly, in order to bring in brilliant young people who are the next generation. So anyway, so I have another movie that's completely independent of Interstellar that I'm working on. I hope it has a similar kind of impact. I've been doing multimedia concerts with Hans Zimmer, who got the Academy Award for Music in Lion King, got the nomination for music in Interstellar. We do concerts where we collect from astrophysicists videos made through computer simulations, colliding black holes, the Big Bang, the electroweak phase transition, black holes tearing stars apart, and these have been edited to fit Hans's music by the team that did the visual effects in Interstellar. They got the Academy Award for that. And so the concert begins with 8 minutes about the birth of the first discovery of gravitational waves by LIGO. And then I talk about what they've seen on the screen, the visualization of the black holes colliding, the propagation of the waves across the universe and through the solar system to Earth, and the detection by LIGO. And then I talk about all the things they're going to see in the rest of the concert, supernova explosions and so forth. And then Hans talks about music, and then Paul Franklin, Oliver James, who double negative to put together the visuals. They talk about the visuals. Then the concert continues. But this is, you reach a smaller audience, so we will put one of our concerts on YouTube probably within the next 6 months. Reach a much wider audience. The other thing I'm doing is a more modest audience again, but I'm enjoying it. It's a table, a book with paintings of sources of gravitational waves. And my poetic prose is aimed at the general public. So we call it a coffee table book. But I'm enjoying enormously my collaborations with a painter in this case, with the musicians and computer graphics people in the other case, and filmmakers. It's a great thing to do. And I'll be 80 years old next year. And I can't keep doing great theoretical physics much longer, but I can do this kind of outreach, which is a lot of fun, and which I think has some impact. So I really do believe in outreach, and I'm impressed by the outreach efforts that I have seen in this country. Your work, the work that's being done up in Sierra Tololo, and by the efforts that are getting underway in Europe and the US.
In relation with achieving the standard quantum limit, the main problem is the parametric instability that you talk, or the squeezing of the input packet, which is the main limitation?
Well, so the parametric instability is actually a problem that is solved by squeezing. It's not something that's in the way. It's solved because instead of increasing the laser power, what you do is you squeeze at the quadrature phase. It's the technical phrase. You squeeze in such a way as to reduce the shock noise, and that's what you were trying to achieve by increasing the laser power. So the main technical problem is that anywhere that ordinary vacuum can leak in, it will leak in and will destroy the squeeze. and it will leak in any place that regular light leaks out. So you have photons bouncing off mirrors, and a little bit of that is scattered off to the side. If the photon can hit the mirror and be scattered off to the side and lost, then a vacuum fluctuation can come in, hit that mirror at the same spot, and come back into the main beam. It's an inverse process. Every place that you can lose a real photon, a virtual photon, which is what makes up vacuum fluctuations, virtual photons, will come in by that route and destroy the screen. And so the problem is to build a system where there are low enough losses of light. The inverse process of virtual photons coming in doesn't occur so much as to destroy the screens. And that's the limitation. That's where all the hard technical work comes. For gravitational wave astronomy, not just LIGO, but other frequency bands, 4 different frequency bands that we will open up. Well, 4 total frequency bands we will have open by probably the mid-2030s. I can talk about black holes. We can talk about wormholes. I can talk about why time machines self-destruct if you try to activate one, probably, and why it's only probably, not definitely. I can talk about neutron stars, quasars, sort of most any topic. I will tell you if I don't know. I have no shame about saying I don't know. But I would like to respond to your questions and let you guide the discussion rather than my trying to do it. So let me see if I can throw it open and we can get started. And don't be shy, there are no stupid questions. There are only stupid people who fail to ask the questions that they think are stupid. So please, let's begin back there.
Is it possible to arrive to the point faster than light?
Yes, I can travel from here to you faster than light. If the light has to go out to out to Mars and then back and bounce off a mirror on Mars. So it's an issue of routes that are taken by the light and routes that are taken by me. If you have a wormhole that leads from here to some distant place in the universe, which probably we can't have, but if you do have one, then yeah, you can get there a lot faster than the light that travels through the external universe. The thing that is an absolute, so another example is the universe is so large that there are pieces of the universe that are beyond what we call our cosmological horizon. They are moving away from us faster than the speed of light, which is why we can't see them, because they're moving away so fast. And that does not violate the principles of relativity, because what the principle of relativity says is if you have 2 objects that are close enough together that there is negligible curvature of space and time between them, so that space and time are flat, they are like you have in special relativity, Minkowski space-time, in the region of those objects, then they cannot travel faster than the speed of light relative to each other. It's only then. If there is a lot of curvature of space and time, space and or time, in the region you're talking about, then standard speed limit doesn't hold. Yeah.
I've read the book of Stephen Hawking, and where
Can you hear his question?
Yes.
Speak louder.
there's a chapter where Hawking talks about the travel in time, and there speaks mostly about ideas of yours. And I would like to ask you if you could like tell tell us more about something that I didn't understand very much because it was much technical, too technical for me. But the part that I understood was that you needed to like grab the space time to make a puzzle to travel in time, travel back in time, and you need the density of negative energy or something like that. I didn't understand very much. If you could give an idea.
So the question is, under what circumstances can you travel backward in time?
Yes.
So just as there is an absolute speed limit when objects are close enough together that there's no significant curvature of space-time between them. Similarly, there is, we know, an absolute limit on not going backward in time in the following sense. That if you are side by side with somebody else, you experience the forward flow of time in the same way. And it's impossible for one of you to move forward in time, the other one to move back. Or another way to say it is you cannot move backward against the local flow of time. The local flow of time is like the flow of a river that's flowing so fast you can't swim it upstream. Nobody can swim upstream. On the other hand, if you have a river that has a side estuary, a region where the water goes in, it slows down, maybe it circles around a little bit, and it might join on to another piece of the river that's farther upstream. So basically you go out into another region, you could come back onto the river and maybe higher up on the river than you were. And so in a similar way, the only possibility for going backward in time is to go out in space and then return to where you started before you left. You can't sit here and go backward in time relative to other people who are sitting. And so the question is, then, can nature provide a route where you go out in space and come back before you started? And one conceivable way is with wormholes. I've described various things that I've written. That you have two mouths of a wormhole. You go in here, you come out there, but you come out of that mouth of the wormhole before you went in. You can come back and meet yourself and tell yourself it was not a pleasant trip and don't go. So that's one way, but it's also conceivable. So it's very unlikely that, it's quite unlikely that wormholes can exist, but not completely forbidden. It's also conceivable, but not very likely, that our universe has a structure whereby you can go out into our universe and come back before you left. That has to do with what is the structure of space and time out there. Does our universe have what we call closed time-like curves, which just says you can go out on some curve in the universe and come back before you started. So those of you who've seen the movie Interstellar, which is another thing I'm happy to talk about. In the movie Interstellar, Cooper never goes back in time. He's always moving forward in Earth time. Let's move that way in Earth time. And he sees his daughter, much younger, after he's gone on his trip, and he's behind her bookcase. He sees her much younger. He is in one face of a tesseract, a four-dimensional cube. She is in another face of the tesseract. This tesseract is constructed by a very advanced civilization that lives in the bulk in the fifth dimension. It's constructed in such a way that it takes a long time for the light to go from his daughter through the successive faces of the tesseract to him. So he sees his daughter when she's very young. The light took a long time to travel along this route. But on the other hand, in the fifth dimension, in the interior of the tesseract, there are closed time-like curves, and that's the way these bulk beings build it. But you and I as human beings can't go into the fifth dimension. We can only live in four dimensions, three spaces at one time. But gravity is the one thing that can go into the fifth dimension. And gravitational forces in this movie, this is the backstory, travel that when he pushes on sort of a lever thing, it creates gravitational force that travels backward in time in the interior, in the five-dimensional interior, and goes back and pushes on the second hand of the watch of his daughter. So he's signaling backward in Earth time by way of these closed timeline curves, because this region with so-called closed timeline curves has been built and engineered by the engineers of the bulk civilization. This is actually told to you. If you're a real fan of Interstellar, you go back to when Cooper, Matthew McConaughey, and Anne Hathaway are sitting in a Ranger space shuttle between giant waves on the water planet. And they have a conversation in which she talks about, to them, the bulk beings, if you go forward.